Matchy eke it out over Talon. So again, it's not just map score, it's also just, did you beat them?
And Matchy have, but now Talon have to beat Monster Shield Korea. I'm going to be seeing here the Lucio come out from Lee Jae-gon, so already I'm quite excited.
And it's going to be the GOATs out of Monster Shield Korea as well, which gives them that precedence on the point. Talon going to have to move back into base, reassess, readdress, and readjust as they crack out a Pharah and a Hanzo.
The thing about this Widowmaker pick is, well, there's no fire to counter out. There's not really that many squishy targets, a lot of them hiding behind shields. With Bazzi on to this Hanzo, the Dragon Strike will be absolutely deadly. You can look at the flanks already, setting up that crossfire with his teammate a weak.
Yeah, it's just a bit more of a bunker buster between these two, but Bazzi needs to be careful to not get dived upon.
It's his bunker buster.
And there it is, yeah, his bunker that's going to get busted. It's Monster Shield just handling Talon pretty handily, and they had the positioning on the point as well. You'd expect that to be the case. Talon ceded it to them, but losing that initial fight is what really seals it for Talon in terms of not getting any progress.
Well, Talon didn't even really have that initial fight because they had to go back, change up most of their composition. Monster Shield Korea just get to walk onto the point for free, get to walk off the point for free, find a free kill into a weak, or rather Bazzi there. That's kind of all they really needed to. Now they're kind of snowballing these ultimates forward. Look for the Coalescence. Should be the first ult available.
And this is what Monster Shield really need with this team comp as well. With what Talon are running, it is kind of a matter of time. So the more fights Monster Shield can win while they control the point, the better. Already getting kills through as this Coalescence was running. Just making hay while the sun is shining on that ultimate. And again, just, I would say delaying the inevitable, but you even start to question whether it is inevitable that Talon eventually win a fight here.
There's only been 2 fights so far, and we're already into the 60% mark, and for Talon Esports, they've been struggling to even kind of be proactive in any sort of way here. They haven't really forced that many ults out of Monster Shield, who themselves only charged up just the one. But with that another fight win, they got the tank ultimates, they got the grab. These are really big for Monster Shield.
And again, Monster Shield getting proactive. Even with that Rocket Barrage, a weak actually ends up taking himself out with it. They throw the ultimates into the mix, but VK, and by the way, substitution here for Monster Shield Korea. We didn't pick up on that one. VK coming in. I believe that may actually be a different name for Ash VK, but that is all conjectural because they're winning the fight. Kagura not going to get back in the mech, and this is looking to be the final fight as well. Monster Shield Korea still with ultimates available. Another Coalescence for Beppo. Earth Shatter not great, but it keeps Talon away from the point as the overtime begins.
Villaingo's already going to go down as well. There just isn't enough firepower here. With a weak down, there are no ultimates available, no Dragon Strike. Bazzi was so close. Monster Shield off the back of maybe 3.5 fights, and so it's very low economy, very low effort. Talon was just kind of barely there.
And it's the economy that really did it. The fact that they got so many cheap fight wins, and that's to say nothing of getting the cap for free. I think Talon made the right call. They had to give it over to Monster Shield Korea, but the fact that they just made no headway after that point when they were on the quote-unquote right composition, just goes to show how well MSKR played that.
Now going into Control Center here as well. Likely to see Monster Shield just stay on the GOAT's composition. They weren't forced off on Control Center. They weren't really forced to be able to make any adjustments because they didn't have to. And for Talon Esports now, they should consider this is a good map for GOAT's composition, which is what Monster Shield are running. So Persia going onto the Ana early, to be expected. Keeping a weak onto, say, the Hanzo here, again, to be expected. Could also substitute him out for Junkrat, also very effective. But for Talon Esports, the goal is quite clear.
For MSKR, it's a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Your GOAT is still eating grass. I don't know, whatever it is the GOATs do.
That's a big name.
Great bio grenade. Bazzi is the first casualty thanks to that, though. Straight down and out for the count. Talon struggling to make the headway. They are getting onto the point, but MSKR had the numbers and they don't mind backing up. This comp works best when it is charging forward, and that's what happens when it's charging forward. It kills its counterpart in Villain Yo, and now Monster Shield just bulldozing through Talon.
Lee Jae-gon got to collect his kill tax there as well, making sure he's keeping up that sound barrier. And for Talon Esports, they landed such a good bio-nade, but they didn't get the kills. Bazzi, their own teammate, ended up going down first. And for Monster Shield, all they need to do, back off, disengage, wait for the bio-nade to go and dissipate, then re-engage.
And again, MSKR recognizing the GOATs wants to go forward. Good bio-nade out again, but unfortunately stuck in the grab. They can't follow up on it. Coalescence out from Beppo. They do force a few more ultimates out of MSKR. It's not as low economy as I think Monster Shield would like, but they still win the fight. That's what counts the most.
You're still seeing now the pro activity coming out of Monster Shield. They're actually flanking around. Not sure if Talon have spotted out yet. They do just see it. It's going to actually give Talon Esports the opportunity to maybe get an attack onto the point. But with the rally out, Monster Shield are ready to go again.
And again, Monster Shield know that they want to be moving forward with this team comp. Talon just kind of struggling to get headway, struggling to find an angle, find the right time to commit. It's giving MSKR more and more time to find their own engages.
There is now Graviton available for Talon Esports, seeing a number of ultimates come online. They have to be pushing in right now. They can't be delaying too much further. There it is.
Finally goes out and is going to catch a number of members straight in with the Dragon Strike. And that is the fight that Talon have been looking for. That is the opportunity they've been needing. As we start to move towards the 70% mark for MSKR, the gong will ring out and Talon will be able to cap the point.
And no counterplay available for Monster Shield either. VK realistically had to eat the Graviton Surge or the Dragon Strike to save his team. There's no Transcendence. Cold Essence wasn't available, neither was Sound Barrier. Monster Shield just had to eat the entire Grav Dragon and the entire teamfight loss.
Monster Shield do come back in with a pretty good run of ultimates in their own right. Talon are only sitting on an Earth Shatter and a Sound Barrier, but they make the Earth Shatter stick. Gogora picking up 2 that were flat on their backs. That means MSKR, they got to readdress this one.
I do just eat up an ultimate and walk out. They didn't lose too many members. That last kill into a Nev does hurt slightly more, but they have the buffer time to work with. They got 72%. Talon is still trying to catch up right now, which is going to give Monster Shield the ability to lose a couple of fights. There's that grab that Perfect's been looking for.
Yeah, straight in, and a nice Bionade that catches Haru means he goes down. Villeneuve can't stay alive after that. MSKR with the entrance into the fight, already a numbers advantage as well. They don't even need to use the Sound Barrier. That is good news. They want that for what is likely to be their final defense.
Daisy going down slightly late. Look, Monster Shield Korea now getting towards that 80% mark, which means realistically only one more fight win required. It's going to have to be a big one because Talon get that combo again. Grav Dragon is the name of the game. Just have to wait for a week to pick up the Dragon Strike, then Talon can go.
They've nearly got it, and they've got the Sound Barrier to give them the buffer time.
What?
There's the Earth Shatter from Inev, not great at all. There's the grab, here's the Dragon.
No grab.
Got Eden, I think. The Dragon not going to connect at all. And that's already bad news, but they're still making it count. They get the kill onto Crazy, does get traded back. Nano Boost is out of Beppo as well. And oh no, he goes down, nearly stayed alive, but not so lucky. And now without the healers, MSKR, despite being at 99%, can't really hold on to this point much longer. Talon will take possession.
Oh man, that was a close call though. Talon had to do a lot of recovery to be able to save that point. And after capping it back through, still managed to pick up a couple of kills a week despite losing that Dragon earlier. Is actually about to get another one, so maybe we get to see this combination again. Villeneuve nearly onto that Earth Shatter. And for all of the effort, Monster Shield Korea are actually the ones slightly behind. They're about to get their own Earth Shatter, but it is a week with that Dragon Strike, looking to not have it eaten a second time.
Both grabs likely to come up at about a similar kind of time here. Feels like the real difference maker should be that Dragon Strike, maybe the Nano Boost out of Persia, or a good Earth Shatter can change that tune altogether. Catch on Bazzi though, bad news.
Oh, there it is.
There's the Shatter out, a weak can't get that Dragon out. He's able to get back up, but Villeneuve not so lucky. And they are still waiting for a grab. Gogora and a weak need to make this one stick. There's the grab, where's the Dragon? Did it get eaten again? No, this one does go out, and it is a big kahuna. Is that a 4K? Not quite, you can't count the mech. I'll say it's a 3.5. That means despite the point flipping back the way of MSKR and the Chaos, it's going to go back into Talon's hands now.
It's a big nail biter for Talon Esports twice now. They have to rely on huge combos, and the first one didn't quite go off because they had the Dragon eaten. This time around, you're waiting very patiently. And now they're waiting yet again. The Earth Shatter did come down, as well as a grab.
Yeah, tried to counter out that grab, but it does not help them. MSKR just clean up the kills of the members of Talon stuck in the grab. And despite a valiant showing from Talon, real nail biter there. 2 fights won as MSKR held on 99%, but they will not be so lucky with the third one. And Monster Shield Korea will take Lijiang Tower.
And a big part of the issue there for Talon Esports, unfortunately, they didn't have initiative in terms of the progression, right? They were always seemingly having to fight back for the point. It was Monster Shield in control for the most part. Having to save this with the big Dragon Strike combo. This one went through. This one was the initial Dragon Strike combo that gave them the point. Then afterwards he had a Dragon Eat in that last fight again. Looking at his ultimate bar, wondering when is he going to throw that Dragon out, because they were losing members very rapidly, but the trust was there. They said, Gogora is going to land the grab, and then I will use the Dragon Strike. No panic, everyone stayed calm, and they got the team fight win.
I mean, they took a bit of a gamble on that as well. I mean, Gogora was still just about 65% as that fight began, and they lost a lot of those members very fast. By the time they were at the point where they were all in on that combo, Gogora was only sitting around 80 to 85%. It was a real gamble. It's a gamble that paid off, at least for that fight. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough for them to actually turn around Lijiang altogether. So, MSKR take it. That is a pretty good showing on the opening, and also showing their caliber with the GOATS comp.
I also think as well, you got to look at that night market game where it was more or less one-sided, I believe, 100-0. So you look at a team from Talon Esports and you think, okay, well, Control Center was very, very competitive. Maybe they can take that to a Gardens and then we'd see them really be able to pull it through for Lijiang Tower. But because night market wasn't even a thing for them, I mean, they didn't have the buffer to play with. They didn't have that extra round win on Lijiang Tower to support them going to that third map. Control Center could have realistically still gone their way. But again, starting slow, 70% plus, already in the favor of Monster Shield by the time they capped.
Yeah.
Just too much work needed to be done.
And it's almost feeling a bit like a mirror of actually matching New Paradigm here on Lijiang Tower. Insofar as Matchy, as they won, they got like the 100-0 shutout, and then on Control Center it was a lot more back and forth, but the winning team, Matchy, just kind of got more mileage out of every fight when just eked out a little bit more. And that was really what we saw there. I mean, the fact that unfortunately, Talon had to win a lot of fights with their back against the wall just to even up the percentage, and then also weren't able to get it over the line. Again, it speaks to the fact that MSKR just got more mileage out of the fight wins they had.
I think it also says for Talon, though, if they can get the early lead, then they can do a lot because they have the clutch factor, they have the recovery ability. Some team fights there we did not expect them to win, especially that big combo at the end. Gogora in a week, basically the last two members standing, maybe a couple there to support them, but they needed to pull out the clutch and they did. So what we need to see now is if Talon Esports can get that early lead, they themselves are the ones starting with 70% already capped out, or in the case of hybrid and moving on to other maps, if they can get a good amount of distance on the card or on with ticks onto the initial point, then we can start seeing some magic because we know they can pull out a win when it matters. They just need the groundwork being done.
You want to speak to the economy, though, when you look at that situation, because it is worth mentioning MSKR have actually played a great macro game. Their ult economy has been very, very lean. They've had a lot of fight wins off one, maybe two ultimates. They haven't had to rely on big combos. Even though Talon have been able to pull those combos off, you feel MSKR just have a bit more consistency in the macro game, and that can count for a lot on hybrid. The hybrid map of choice is going to be King's Row.
We've also seen a decent amount of momentum. Note that on control point maps, I'd say the opening fight win definitely counts for a lot more because of how neutral the objective is. Whichever team kind of gets an early lead does get that opportunity to snowball a lot better. So going into these other game modes like hybrid, like assault, and then this escort after that, I like to see when we're starting to get into the mode of taking turns to attack and defend, which team can be more consistent in that regard, where it's not just about, okay, how much initial momentum can you get, but how far can you push through, because we have seen teams get some good momentum early, then fail to finish a map. Saw that just in our previous matchup on Eichenwald, which gave New Paradigm that win. So again, kind of making slight comparisons here. Talon don't necessarily want to be New Paradigm, and I think Talon are a much better team than New Paradigm, but that also says now that the possibility of them winning should be quite high. We're definitely within the realm of possibility.
Right now as well, if you're Matchy, you actually want Talon to win here. Because it means MSKR having picked up the one, if I'm not mistaken, even if Talon were to go the full 3-1 here.
3-1 is enough. They need to get minimum 3-1.
Would that not put Matchy in first place though?
That would put Talon in first place because
right.
Because
they needed
Talon
5 map series
are currently one map ahead of Machi, so if Talon get at least the same map differential within this match as Machi,
3-1,
which is the 3-1, then Talon will still be ahead by 1.
Well, what that means actually, if you're Matchy, you want MSKR to win one more, and then you want Talon to reverse sweep.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
but that would be too scary.
That one very specific result. I mean, you're not at risk of going below second place. You don't really mind, in a sense, who wins or loses here, but you would like the opportunity for a first place finish. That doesn't happen to you if MSKR take the series all up.
You wouldn't want Talon to lose this one again because reverse sweeping would be a difficult thing to do, so you'd like to see Talon actually win this one, and then maybe they trade maps back and forth.
Yeah, maybe. That would be great, because it doesn't matter how it falls, the real winner is matching. But let's find out who the winner of this series is going to be, result notwithstanding.
Substitution as well, Luke coming in for a nib, this hybrid map, and Talon Esports going to take a bit of a flank around, running, of course, that Goats, like you said.
This is a little bit more true to the book, Goats from Talon. Not going to be running that Ana deviation that we've seen a bit of recently, and it's going well as well, barreling on to the point, just lodging perfect and getting a lot of pressure onto the supports. Lee J Gone is about to be his namesake. By the time he gets there, half this team is already ahead of him to the grave. And yeah, the only healer, and that means that MSKR just crumble on the defense.
You actually see the lack of health there for Monster Shield, because Talon had such a long flank, they all decided to go on top of the point. And for Monster Shield, all they can do is play for disengage. They actually don't want to be brawling on that cap, but they have to, because if they don't, they will lose the cap itself, and that's basically what happened. Also got to say, for TYG as well, making that long sort of rotation around, he did a ton of work.
Love the sound of that bell. Satisfying. Makes you really feel like you earned something when you kept that point out. Talon playing very far forward. I like this. Again, utilizing the strong forward momentum of a Goats comp, but they need to be careful not to overextend.
Great kill by Gokora.
Yeah, good kill indeed. Haru, though, going down means Talon kind of lack the supports, literally, to keep this fight going. They do still move the payload a little bit, which is what they wanted. They're not going to get as much progress as they were really hoping.
I do also want to say TYG's been one of the more impressive players from Talon across the 5 weeks that we've seen this team. Talon as a team are quite willing to swap between all 3 of their DPSs, so a week is on the bench now. TYG is coming in, who's usually a bit of a hit scan player. He plays a lot of Tracer, and he's been very clutch so far. Already now with that Graviton Surge ready to go. Expecting some fireworks out of this man.
And already able to move this far forward once again. MSKR, despite winning the fight, couldn't really take some space with it. Earth Shatter has gone wide. I do believe TYG's grab got eaten though, so things not necessarily going great for Talon, especially not with TYG dead and still looking for a way in. They're actually just going to have to back up and lick their wounds.
This is a weird place for Talon to be in, because they still have a few ults to play with, but Monster Shield have kind of out-comped them right now. Consider that there's a Junkrat and also a Pharah into the sky. There's a lot of spam damage, a lot of AoE damage coming from long range. Talon Esports, they have to consider whether they want to change their comp, but as was previously mentioned, they got ults to play with, so they don't want to give up the ults just yet.
That was really rough as well. They backed up and thought they had an opportunity to re-engage. Villeneuve died on the charge back in. And they just end up in this issue now where they want to use that Earth Shatter, but they also want to change their composition. They've just ended up in this really half and half situation.
Well, half the team has changed and half of them have not, so if they can get past this one tie, which they've kind of failed to do so, maybe expecting a res, but unfortunately not going to be the case, because Monster Shield are just going to push up onto the body. But Talon Esports running the Hanzo and the Widow, the double sniper, is good because it gives you the opportunity to kill Crazy and Perfect on the opposite end. But you're still just kind of stuck between the slow gameplay of the Reinhardt, where you are also playing around the Shadow.
That's the thing. I think that Villeneuve maybe needs to just bite the bullet, give up that Earth Shatter, properly change it onto what they want to play. Yeah, or maybe just use it. The thing is, they haven't had the chance just yet, and they're getting into the sunk cost fallacy where they want to use it, but by holding on to it, they're unlikely to have a good situation to use it because they have this suboptimal team comp. But at least now back on the payload, looking for an angle in with that Earth Shatter.
Now has to consider the counter Shadow from Luke as well, who's been building up. Perfect killing Bazzi is not what you want to see if you're Talon Esports. The Fiery killing the Widow, that's the opposite of what you really want to be seeing. And now for Monster Shield, I mean, still pushing up, still have ult advantage. Talon Esports, Bazzi even changes onto Fire himself, and we're still looking at Villeneuve if the Shadow is going to come down. At the same time, though, you almost do want to keep playing the Reinhardt, because playing a Winston wouldn't allow you to protect yourself from Luke's Shadow.
They're just in this awkward spot now, Talon.
That looks better.
But yeah, this is looking a lot better. They've finally...
There's the Shatter.
They've come through puberty. They're a lot less awkward now as the Earth Shatter connects. Haru as well with the Valkyrie. I mean, really this is just the critical mass of ultimate starting to work its magic on top of just the extra frags they've been getting. But the closer respawns for MSKR means that if they can stabilize here, they could still hold a defense. Talon need to brawl it out to the end, and they are getting to that sweet end. The cap goes over.
The problem is, it's taken about 4.5 minutes for Talon to progress through A and B, which only leaves them now 3 minutes something, just barely to get through this C point before Monster Shield. they have this big ultimate advantage. It almost doesn't matter that Monster Shield gave up B here because you can expect them to complete the full hold, kind of regardless, as long as they can continue rotating these ultimates, continuing the ult economy rotation.
Bazzi holding on to a rocket barrage. That's going to find Persia. That's rough. That was a transcendence that they would have sorely needed, and Perfect finds the frag on TYG. They commit on the res on Persia, though, which suggests they still want to fight. Perfect wants to nip that in the bud, but he's going to be the one getting nipped there from behind by Bazzi. Now Talon actually wanting to stay in the fight has maybe paid off now. Losing Gogora, I think they've just got to back out of here.
Well, the thing with the trades is they can sort of work these trades in their favor and just take some positioning. Got to commend Persia for not wanting to use the ultimate there. In fact, got to commend most Talon for not wanting to use the ult here, because you are getting some free ults on a Monster Shield. They did have to use a couple to sort of fight in on the defense, and now they've swung that ult economy backwards because Monster Shield had way too much to deal with previously.
Looking for the opportunity once again, Talon. Last time they just kind of out-fragged on their way in. Ancient frags, as it were. Shatter, no, hits the shield. They do knock Gogora down to the back line, but oh! VK! Just finding them on the back line, cracks it wide open, and again, Talon aren't making headway here, nor are they getting a chance to actually commit their ultimates, and now Bazzi has just had to swap off.
The dragon.
They're just struggling to find answers here, and Bazzi swapping off means, I mean, there's not a fire on the opposite end to counter. There's not even a counter Widow. Perhaps you'd probably say then that's the best time to play a fire. You don't have to worry about Perfect or Crazy sniping you backwards. For Talon Esports, finally, here comes the Dragon.
Sweeping across the team. They find Luke with the self-destruct as well. That's just 2 ultimates, though, only to pick the one. You can just get res back in. And that's
get the space, though.
Yeah, that's to say nothing of the close respawns, but it does get them back onto the payload. Bazzi gets picked off. Talon aren't getting that critical mass that they need.
Counter Dragon Strike now. Perfect coming from the opposite side. But you're still expecting Villainyo to eventually get the shadow down. If he can land that one, you'd expect Talon to finish the map, but time is starting to run out. 1 minute remaining.
And Crazy's got a blade that's already cut down Haru. Persia is low, going to go down to the charge. By the time Crazy goes down, the damage has been done. We should see Monster Shield stabilizing here. Even as they trade kills, trades favor them with that respawn advantage. Now, 30 seconds remaining. Can Talon close it out?
My lord, Beppo has been a bit of a killer on this side, getting himself the Transcendence now. Remember that he got the initial volley headshot kill into Bazzi, forcing the resurrection. Just got himself another 3 kills in a row on that defense. 20 seconds now remaining for Talon Esports. 1 ultimate available, and it's only an info site.
Everyone knows Beppo's the real carry on this team. Yeah,
both the supports kill a lot.
Yeah, feels that way, right? But yes, only the infra site for Talon, and when you speak of Beppo, you got to look at the Transcendence that he's got available. It makes it hard for Talon to get any work done. They need frags, they need picks from this double sniper. Crazy's low. Luke Earthshatter out. Doesn't get the work done as the Dragon Strike comes in. Doesn't get kills, but does make space. Talon able to get on the payload. Self-destruct forward. VK. Lee Gone is down. VK does remech, and they start to chip away at these tanks. This is getting a little bit dire now for Talon. Gogora in the nick of time will be able to reset the mech. Won't get any kills though.
Gets one.
Goes down. Yeah, does actually get one as it turns out. Res onto Villainyo, but Haru trades his life. Talon are now all in. They lose Gogora. They are struggling to get kills through, but Bazzi popping off just at the last second. So low though, may be able to get this one last one. Yes, he does, as VK is remeching. Can't quite get the catch on Crazy, who is trying to pull out a Dragon Blade. Will not get it. There's a Transcendence out from Persia. Lee J gone going on to his carry pants Lucio, and Talon, it looked so bad for them at the start of that, but they're getting kill after kill after kill. Bazzi's managed to put the team on his shoulders, and they will complete the cap.
I got to remind everyone here of the clutch potential of this team. Talon Esports, we had some sightings of this on Control Center, and we said there were some maps there were some fights there that they should have probably lost, that they ended up winning. Now that example has once again shown itself. When it really matters, they get that cap underway. Bazzi getting that kill into VK as he's remaking. Probably the game-winning kill that really snowballed things forward, because if VK got back into the mech, Diva was there, able to sort of stall the point up with Luke, who was still on the Reinhardt. Too many tanks to deal with, too much damage mitigation, a Matrix in play as well. Then Monster Shield get to regroup, reinforce on the card. Then they get to finish the defense. But, well, Talon Esports, man, they had the kills come through at just the right times on just the right members.
And I mean, in that situation, they already had Haru down. Talon were not in a great spot. They needed something like that. They needed some kind of, I don't want to say miracle play, but they needed someone to just kind of carry. They needed someone to come alive. And it happened. It's not something you can rely on, but it happened.
It's been happening a few times,
exactly.
to be fair.
That's why this team is in this position. Look, they play well as it is. And then when they do end up in those situations where the backs are against the wall and they need some kind of moment of brilliance, they do get them.
Now, the only problem still is they just haven't given themselves enough runway. You know, imagine this was the case with Talon Esports where they finished the map, but they had a better run on both A and B. Specifically B, I'm talking about here, because actually A was pretty decent coming up from them. Then they finished with some time remaining for an actual time back. Now they're in a position where if Monster Shield finish with time, well, Talon Esports are not going to be too happy. Assuming Monster Shield do finish.
Yeah, and that's the one thing as well. Because they did cap, I mean, nothing else is the opportunity for a time bank if Monster Shield Korea do cap.
Watch this trick shot. Nade coming over the top.
Lines it up.
Is Gagora going to eat this one down, though? That's the real question.
Yeah, if you do see it coming, you have that option.
Oh, he's missed.
He will not. Yeah,
Gagora missed, that is.
Gets caught with it. Now Monster Shield Korea on the point means Talon have to answer. They get in, contest, set up the shield. Need to not get outflanked, though.
Well, the first part of this offense is done, which is to force Talon Esports onto the low ground. Now you can set up these kind of longer flanks, there's higher flanks with verticality as well. Note that TYG could get caught out because he's by himself. Oh, that is exceptional. And the swift strike through, that's so much damage. Now it's all just dive in and clean up. Exactly what Monster Shield Korea are good at doing. And this is triple support, by the way, from MSKR. So very volatile kind of team comp, but the execution is just all there. And a flawless bio grenade to make it all happen. And the three supports are going to actually be the ones getting the ultimates first as well. And for Monster Shield Korea, a lot of that relied on Perfect's ability as the Ana player to land those perfect bio-nades. Got two of them in a row. He knew the angles exactly. And because of that talent, the first bio-nade forced them backwards. The second bio-nade ended the fight.
Because of that as well, they're actually okay to stay on this triple support team comp. They're coming up on a Nano Blade combo. And they've got those really high impact defensive ultimates in the Valkyrie and Transcendence. They could just keep this going.
Or you just nano Luke, to be quite fair. He jumps in ahead. I believe Lee Jae Gon got nano there, so that's not what you want to see.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Battle Mercy, but no, I don't think it was. I think it may have landed on Luke, but it's all conjectural, right? Crazy, well, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to bet you. But Crazy got the kill with the Dragon Blade. That's what they really needed. It still means they've got space. The payload's still moving, and that's what counts.
I'll tell you what, last time we kind of saw this, I believe last week exactly, Monster Shield played an Ana with Lee Jae Gon on a Lucio, and they actually had a Boostio there. And that wasn't quite as bad, because we know Lee Jae Gon gets a lot of kills with Lucio, so
that's like a good tactical decision.
That's not awful, but this time around, probably not on the Mercy.
Luke goes down, that's not ideal, especially when he had that Primal Rage available, and now Talon have an opportunity to anchor their defense in with this Dragon Strike. Monster Shield are a little bit lacking in the damage department at this point, and it does mean they have to maybe just back up, give Talon the space, let them start a defense.
Especially with the Dragon Blade gone, I mean, that's their one really big offensive option there. Realistically running 1 DPS here, so they need to get a lot more done with their tanks. They're getting not a lot done now with Lee Jae Gon dead, so Talon allowed to reset up on this B defense.
Oh, Crazy finding Bazzi though is an opening. Beppo got pressured for a moment, but he is just fine. And now MSKR looking to set up around the sides. Gagora needs to respect between that Discord Orb and the Bio Grenade. You can actually lose a lot of health very fast as a tank against this team comp. Dive in from Crazy, he gets Haru, gets out as well, and VK going in deep to find Persia. They've cracked the defense with, honestly, not even much of a bang. It was just a landslide, bit by bit, kill by kill, and then suddenly it all slides the way of MSKR.
And they get that sort of momentum through with also the nano boost onto VK. This time around, getting himself a lot of kills, and you'd expect Perfect to probably change up here. He was considering it, but also for Monster Shield, they're kind of thinking, it's not working, it's not doing too badly, so continue playing Perfect onto the Ana.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, eventually, they probably won't have the damage output. It depends now how much Crazy can do with this blade.
At least they've got a team comp that can contest the high ground, and you ask what he can do with the blade. Well, he can find TYG Can't really find much more after that, though. Good retreat by Talon, and then he does get punished. Villeneuve picking up that one, now going aggressive with the Primal Rage. Talon have a few more ultimates in the pocket if they need to stabilize further. They haven't quite handed a comprehensive defeat to MSKR, but they have begun a stabilization. And eventually MSKR, yeah, here comes the change after the team comp. That's the big one. That is the comprehensive defeat.
You kind of see that one coming from a mile away as well, just being thrown over the top. A few Monster Shield plays still in the mix here, just can't even get out alive. Luke, staggered death. Does have an ultimate available, and also you're looking at Perfect nearing a nano boost. They got to stick to this because they have the ults to play with, so they want to be able to commit. They want to be able to probably at this stage put the nano boost onto Luke. I want to say we're actually at quad support now. I don't think wouldn't have thought we'd see this, but here we are.
This is something else entirely. And I mean, you kind of can do it here between the Ana and the Brigida. I wonder if they're actually going to be able to put it across the line.
A serious lack of damage output, I'm afraid.
Especially when you've got people like Bazzi charging in. It's hard to shut him down. The ultimates are all there from Talon to be able to make this happen. Speaking of shut him down, oh no, that crazy. Hurts. Yeah, over the edge, carrying that nano boost with him as he went down. MSKR have to just take that one, back it up. And this gives Talon an opportunity to dig in on their defense, start to get that economy well and truly in their favor.
I mean, there's a lot of sustain here. There's a lot of healing, but, you know, where do the kills come from? Perfect knows. Gonna go onto Widow. Was considering the Hanzo there, but with the Widow, he can actually challenge Bazzi quite well, who himself making that change makes a lot of sense. They're running 4 supports and 2 tanks. I mean, every single support there is just free picks.
Squishy, squishy. Hey, speaking of free picks, finds the body shot on Beppo. And even though the dive comes in, it's gonna be just fine. Primal Rage, though, in from Luke. They're committing hard to this fight. Luke needs to be careful. Actually has to back up to rejoin his team, but with Villeneuve down, the window has been opened even as Lee J. Gon gets picked. He will be able to rejoin before too long, and MSKR are moving the cart.
1 minute now, or rather 2 minutes just under remaining. Talon Esports got all the ultimates. Rally comes out of crazy as well, but again, unless Perfect can get some serious hits here, it's probably not going to do too much.
Talon are kind of having to throw everything at the kitchen sink at this one, though, because MSKR just will not die, and now Beppo with that Transcendence ensures that that remains the case, at least for the time being. Persia getting low, TYG picked off. Even as Luke dies, Lee J. Gong can go in for a res if they need. They do actually respect the tank line. They do respect the close respawns of Talon. They do back up.
As long as Talon don't lose too many players here while Monster Shield keep theirs up, they're not going to be realistically at risk of being capped out. Talon and Monster Shield can keep getting even trades. Maybe the cart continues moving forwards, but with just about 1 minute remaining now, Talon Esports can continue stalling up. They're not going down very quickly, and Monster Shield are not getting very many ults or very many picks.
VK getting rezzed is a smart call because he has the mech to recall to get back in that one, and they needed that as well. It's just under a minute to go. MSKR, if they don't cap this one out, it just goes over to Talon. So despite all the momentum, despite starting off well, they're struggling a little bit here.
And they need to cap with time remaining here, otherwise they'll be in the same place with Talon. No time remaining, both teams will get 1 minute. Monster Shield want the advantage. They want to be finishing with some time remaining, but Talon don't want to let them.
And now here it goes. The final fight of King's Row has kicked off. It's Bazzi, the first casualty, but instantly traded back. Trades favor Talon, though. The respawn advantage can never be overstated. With that Transcendence, they can keep that tank line alive. That is crucial, but res on Beppo and dive on Persia. He is in trouble. Monster Shield Korea getting aggressive, getting the spawn trap with Luke with running that Primal Rage while crazy.
Primal. There
it goes. Villeneuve getting back into the thick of it in his own right. Talon gets some back, but not enough. Can the Dragon Strike from TYG do it? Trying to sweep across. Not enough. Not anyone, in fact. Self-destruct up in the skies, lands back down. No kills, but Talon still not stable either. Still losing members. Perfect on a soldier of all things. Sitting back here. Too much damage for Talon to handle. Monster Shield Korea surely going to cap out here. Just a matter of time. And that means, speaking of time, we go to time bank even Stevens.
Both teams at no time remaining here, which means both teams now will receive 1 minute to get the job done. We talked about the clutch factor of Talon Esports, and now looking at Monster Shield as well. You got to say both teams realistically should have and maybe could have fully held on that C point. This replay should reveal this Anane, so check it out from Perfect. Drops it onto the side angle, just onto the right, and because the explosion AoE was just wide enough, it actually gets all 3 defending members.
Absolutely gorgeous, really. Knew his angles.
Dude, perfect.
Knew he had the opportunity. Yeah, perfect indeed. I like it because it's like it's a pun on perfect, but it's also like per fact. Like for each per fact, for each fact. I don't know what. I don't know
Something.
what is I don't know what is fulfilled by that condition, but like per fact. Like I don't know, 1 kill per fact. Like you share trivia, he gets a kill, you know, like. And I've forgotten literally all the trivia I know. Never mind.
I don't need a lot of trivia. They had enough trivia just at the end there to get the card finishing.
Plenty of trivia. They would win a pub quiz.
I think so. We're going to see this again. So check out Perfect's angle. Bam, right on the side.
Oh, never gets sold. I want another.
Do you want a reminder here that Talon managed to get this attack through it in 1 attempt previously? They were running that Goats composition. Monster Shield were running a very similar comp to what they are now, but slightly different. No Hog this time around, double healer. Talon Esports going to play double sniper, so with 1 minute,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if this is going to work for them.
It's kind of risky because it's a more slow and steady kind of team comp, and Goats worked last time, so this is a big deviation. But they get the presence on the point that forces Talon. Yeah, they got the catch from Perfect, but Crazy's answered some back, and the raise in on Perfect means Talon, they need to be a little bit careful here. VK losing the mech though, they trade that with Gogora's own.
There's not going to be a reset here. Talon are very committed in. There's just about 15 seconds remaining, which means this has to be the fight. This has to be where everything ends, and Talon is fully reinforced. Don't know if I can say the same for Monster Shield.
Yeah, back in the mech for Gogora is good news as well, because VK was still away from his, even as they lose Haru and TYG. Look, they at least got a third. They got 50.1. They can actually respawn a little bit. No, they're not going to be able to stabilize off that. It's only Villeneuve. It is all over. MSKR did hold on to that one, but that little bit of progress for Talon could actually be the difference maker. Bit of a shame to not break the point. You'd like more progress than that, realistically, but they are still in a potentially winning position.
Well, the thing is, most teams should not be able to cap out with 1 minute. 1 minute on an A point, definitely not enough time. If you get 50.1%, I think that's something to be happy about for Talon Esports, because it does mean they prevent a scenario where this goes to a draw. Now, they can absolutely have the opportunity to win, because there is a world with Monster Shield also just do not get a tick at all. There's a world where they don't get to 50.1% and then Talon complete the defense. And 1 minute, again, 1 minute is not a lot of time.
It is really not. It's one good hold, you know. One good hold out of Talon and MSKR don't take it. But also, because of how this falls, because it's only 50% and not a full cap out, one good push out of MSKR and it's a win.
I also want to say that with 1 minute, you're likely to only get 1 round of ultimates. And that's usually going to come out from the defense if they're holding on. If the defense lose, I mean, they're just going to get capped out within 1 minute. But the defense hold, they're likely to get the first round of ultimates. And the first ultimates are going to be what swing the fight their way, because the attackers are likely to not be able to survive.
This is very, very interesting. Goats on the defense, and you saw them all just huddled into the corner by the counter of the Alderworth Hotel. If this pays off, they could just kind of hand it to MSKR before there's even a chance.
But Monster Shield should know there's no defense there. Perfect on the Widow can be able to... Look, they're looking through. They don't know where Talon are right now, which means you should suspect they're in the Alderworth Hotel.
And they know it. They know that something's up. They're going to go back. They're going to reset. This does lose a bit of time for them, but it gives them their best opportunity.
Oh, even a Farah. They know everything. The jig is entirely up. I think Talon have kind of missed their opportunity almost. They needed to run into Monster Shield, and now they're running into Farah.
But MSKR do still need to win the fight. Just because they've made the right call, just because they've recognized the situation, doesn't mean it is all done and dusted. Not with the trades going the way they are. Lee Jae-gong and Luke Joe both down. Talon, no, they lose Haru, but they trade back on Perfect. It's just the tanks crazy as well. VK getting it done. They do have the closer respawn. Talon just losing members now. Can Gogora do it? I do not believe he can. Last few kills to come through. MSKR, excellent read. Talon a little bit too clever for their own good. They will get just that little bit of progress they need. And MSKR will take Kings Row, will take us to match points.
2-0 right now. Look, Talon had a bit of a gambit. But as you gamble, sometimes the chips don't fall your way. Sometimes the dice doesn't roll in your favor. And this time around, they did have some control over the situation. I mean, they could have decided to run at Monster Shield as they're coming through this choke section, but they wanted to see if Monster Shield were going to take the bait, and well, Monster Shield not going to get reeled in.
I think they needed to be just a little bit more proactive, as you tend to want to be with GOATs anyway. You want to be getting on the aggressive, but look, at any rate, what's done is done, and I don't know, maybe they weren't wrong for trying to see if MSKR would take the bait. It's a little bit unfortunate. You kind of end up in this almost mind game situation, you know. But look, the 2-0 up for MSKR is deserved. That's the real thing that's happening there. You can nitpick that particular moment on the defense endlessly, but the reality is they played well enough to win it there, MSKR, and they played well enough to win it on Lijiang Tower. They are at match point, and they deserve to be so. That means it becomes increasingly hard for Talon to set up that reverse sweep.
Let's take a look at this replay as well. This is the moment for Monster Shield Korea where they sort of look around and think, well, they're most likely hiding in Alderworth Hotel. They're not anywhere else. Not on the high ground. We haven't received any spam damage, which is strange because even if they're into the other corner, sort of a little bit behind the clock tower, not in that opening high ground section, you're still receiving spam. There's still damage coming through. There's confirmation that the defense exists because there's absolutely nothing there. It is way too telegraphed that there is something sneaky happening on the Talon side and way too easy for Monster Shield to go back and say, we know what you're doing, here's our response.
And it's process of elimination, right? Like, they didn't even actually technically see any members of Talon in the Alderworth, but they know that it's the only place they can realistically be, which means they know what it is that Talon are trying to do, which means they know how to deal with it. And unfortunately, Talon just kind of, they end up being the ones that played into a trap, and the trap was the knowledge that MSKR have of those kinds of defensive set pieces.
Which is why for Talon, it's interesting to me that they wanted to take a risk there. You were kind of mentioning that maybe it's worth taking a risk in these scenarios, but at the same time, when it doesn't pay off, it kind of just blows up in your face in a really bad way. And there was no reason for Talon to not want to just play conventional. If they play conventional, maybe they drag it out, maybe they win. I also think perhaps giving them a greater opportunity of winning, but high risk, high reward, perhaps for Talon in their minds, and this time around, well, it's not the reward, it is all the risk, and that risk is going to put them in an 0-2 position. The first half now has been concluded for the evening, and also for this matchup. When we come back, we get to see the conclusion of Talon and Monster Shield Korea. Who's it going to be? Find out after this break.